Hello, everybody. Welcome to End Times Talk. I hope you're all having a good day. My day is not going the greatest. It's been a terrible day so far. So I'm going to try to push forward and do this live, anyways, because I think it's important to do. Um, says here um, Moderna injects first participant with experimental mRNA 4200 cancer shot that forces the body to produce seven undisclosed, and undisclosed is a very key word here, tumor proteins. So this is, supposed to be like some new form of cancer treatment. Moderna has begun human testing, um, designed to instruct the body's own cells to produce seven undisclosed tumor associated proteins. And this was yesterday. The company announced that the first participant in a phase 1 clinical trial had received an injection of this novel mRNA product rather than delivering pre manufactured proteins from outside. The mRNA 4200 introduces genetic instructions that cause the recipient cells to manufacture these antigens internally. The aim is to stimulate targeted immune responses against advanced solid tumors, including melanoma, lung, ovarian, colorectal, and several others. It is being evaluated both alone and in combination with pembrolizumab. I don't know if I botched that, but probably did. Um, so they're creating this anti-cancer vaccine, and I know they already have some of this stuff, but it reminded me of I Am Legend, the movie I Am Legend, because in the movie I Am Legend, it was a cancer vaccine, a cancer shot, or a shot, an anti-cancer shot or whatever that caused the Crippen virus. And what happened to the people who got injected? They ended up becoming mutated in different forms, not fully inhuman. They still have the ability to love and reason and be upset and have emotions and things like that. But they became almost feral, and they it looks to me like as if it causes extreme anger, extreme violence, and so a lot of people have reported that people that have taken the jab, the mRNA one, that people are becoming pretty unreasonable when it comes to their emotions and things like that. I think it's just something in the air, to be honest with you, because I think there's a lot of people that are struggling with their emotions nowadays and just losing it. And anyways, um, it just reminded me of the Crippen virus, and I got some really interesting stuff to show you today, but it's just down the way. Um, Here, hold on, I gotta go to this next one here. All right, so they're saying that San Francisco police departments have reveals they're monitoring citizens with drones in San Francisco, and the since the launch, it actually they go out over 600 times per month. Uh, that would have to be, I think, 20 times a day. 20 times they go out a day and surveil the city. The quote is, and here, you were not supposed to see this. The only reason you are is because cops in San Francisco live streamed highly sensitive surveillance drone footage on the open web. The security researchers were struck by how, in all the videos they watch, no one ever looks up or attempts to hide from the drone, suggesting that their small size and high altitude make them virtually invisible. And I can attest to this. I will say this, that I have a drone and I can fly it up to 400 feet. And I remember hearing firefighters coming down the road. I heard the fire engine siren on, and I put the drone up because I was already using the drone outside. I heard it. and I put the drone up as high as it could go to see where it was happening. I watched the firefighters come down the road. I watched them leave the area where they usually are and come down the road and turn here and turn there and stop at a house. I was able to zoom in and watch the firefighters get out of their truck and walk into the house. I could see their faces, right? The drone technology is insane, and you can be stationary, and as long as you're high up enough, you can see everything. You don't even have to fly it around or move it right, left, frontwards, forwards, or backwards, right? And so I'm going to go ahead and just play this video here. I don't know if there's any cussing or anything like that, but I want to show people what's going on.
You were not supposed to see this. The only reason you are is because cops in San Francisco live streamed highly sensitive surveillance drone footage on the open web. Security researchers Sam Curry and Mike Robert found that a link on the drone platform Skydio publicly revealed real-time San Francisco police drone footage from both color and thermal cameras recorded by 5 Skydio quadcopters as they flew around the city. The researchers reported the leak to Skydio, but by the time the link was taken down, Curry and Robert had already recorded and shared with Wired around 3 hours of video from 2 days of exposed drone flights. The footage shows, for instance, police...
And that's how it is. That drone ain't even close to those people. But from a distance, as long as you're high up enough and as long as that camera has a good enough zoom, you can zoom in and see everything.
Surrounding and tackling a man hiding in a park.
And what's really scary is, and people, if you have children and things like that, you need to make sure that, you know, your blinds are pulled shut at night and things like that. Because, I mean, again, you can see the house behind these people. And, you know, you can look right in the windows from where this drone is at. So this can be used by pedophiles and perverts alike to you know, record people and stuff. These all have recording capabilities and things like that. That's why I want to make people aware of this stuff. It's super crazy how just our freedoms are flying out the window.
Parking lot viewed from multiple quadcopters, police jumping off scooters to detain another man, and a view of police inside an apartment in a high-rise building. None of this should have ever been exposed, but it now provides a revealing glimpse of modern drone-based police surveillance. In one questionable incident described in police records as a prowler investigation, a drone zooms in on an oblivious young person wearing headphones on the roof of a building. In another investigation described as an alleged theft from a vehicle, a drone follows a car for 10 minutes until 2 men get out and start innocently playing basketball. When Wired reached out to the San Francisco Police Department, it responded in a statement calling the exposed drone video stream an internal restricted link that is for SFPD law enforcement purposes only, and wrote that it had been improperly obtained and accessed by individuals without authorization. But Curry and Robert say they didn't bypass any security or gain unauthorized access to anything. Instead, someone with access to the SFPD's Skydio instance appears to have created a link last December to 5 of its drone's feeds with no authentication and an expiration date of 1 full year. The SFPD's drone policy requires pilots to minimize inadvertent recording of uninvolved people and places, but according to Wired's analysis of the videos, the drone cameras filmed hundreds of people and vehicles across just the 20 flight recordings we obtained, with dozens of faces captured in some single frames of the videos. The security researchers were struck by how, in all the videos they watched, no one ever looks up or attempts to hide from the drone, suggesting that their small size and high altitude make them virtually invisible. In other words, you would never even know that you were being watched, unless, of course, you find a link to a video stream of that police surveillance available on the public internet.
So that's insane. And it just goes to show you how far this is, and they're making this legal everywhere in Oakland County, in Detroit. They are policing with drones. San Francisco, LA, you know, they've all admitted they're policing with drones. And some of them aren't going to admit it, right? Some of them aren't going to admit it, but it's insane. Now, I got to show you this here next, because I'm showing you, like, they're clamping down. Like, this is insane. It says many flock systems can detect nearby Bluetooth signals from devices like phones, vehicles, and other electronics. Those signals can be correlated with the camera's observations to help identify when the same device appears at different locations over time. So just more of a way that they're tracking you, you know, that they can detect your phone's Bluetooth. And I'll be honest with you, there are backdoor technologies where you don't have to have your Bluetooth on for hackers to access your Bluetooth. Any hacker can tell you this. You know, this is all very, very dangerous stuff. And you know, if people knew how dangerous their electronics were becoming, I don't think they'd have anything to do with them anymore. I really don't. Um, and this is interesting. I thought Los Angeles Police Department is ending their agreement with flock cameras. This is interesting. LAPD says there are concerns about privacy, but they knew that when they signed up. That's not the real reason. The real reason is that Democrats are worried about the feds accessing these cameras to be used for ICE immigration enforcement. So when it doesn't benefit their agenda, then they're against it. And so, you know, it's insane how we're this far along, you know, into all of this. Like, I didn't think that, you know, 24 years ago, or 22 years ago, sorry, when I first started all this research, that it would ever be this far along. And this one's really crazy here. Hold on. New therapeutic brain implants defy the need for surgery. This is crazy stuff. What if clinicians could place tiny electronic chips in the brain that electrically stimulate a precise target? What do you mean, like a targeted individual? Is that through a simple injection in the arm? Right there. A simple injection in the arm. This may someday help treat deadly or debilitating brain diseases while eliminating surgery-related risks and costs. And MIT's researchers have taken a major step towards making this scenario a reality. Of course they have. Of course they have. And this was in 2025, and probably by now they have it. Probably by now they have it. And you know, they probably had it back in 2025 when they come out with this article, because they're always light years ahead of us in technology. Light years. Check this one out. This one's really crazy here. Silicon chips on the brain. Researchers announced a new generation of brain-computer interface. This is insane. Fabricated as a single chip, like a mark in their right hand or their forehead. Right in the forehead. What if it's something that attaches to your forehead and controls your brain? This is where this is all going, to where it doesn't even need to be implanted. But it says this new implant is orders of magnitudes faster and smaller than today's state-of-the-art brain-computer interfaces, offering an opportunity for more effectiveness in their treatments of a number of neurological conditions. And so this is a thing. This was in December 2025. Didn't we just say they had it? And here it is, they have it. You know, and this stuff, I think now, I believe they have it as small as like a grain of sand now, where it's like, I remember showing a picture the other day of this stuff, and on a quarter. There was a pile of them on a quarter, and it didn't even cover a 10% portion of the quarter. They're so small, they would look like a grain of pepper, cracked pepper in your, you know, food. You see what I'm saying? That's how small that they are. But let's keep going. I want to take this to the next level, and this is a little bit of a lengthy news clip, but this is very, very important here. Very, very important that you pay attention to all of this.
Welcome back, everyone. We've all seen movies like The Matrix, which show characters who can blur the line between man and machine. In our current reality, some are on the same journey, putting technology inside of their bodies with microchips. But how high are the risks, and what are the rewards? And what could this mean for our collective future? ABC's Nathan Russo-Smith takes us inside the world of biohacking.
My name is Anastasia Sin. I'm a magician and a biohacker.
I want to say this too real quick, that this is from 2025. This video was made last year.
What is GrindFest?
Grindfest has been going on for about 10 years here in Tehachapi. And we attract people from all different genres.
Yeah, I have a master's in human anatomy.
Physics in general is what I've been studying. It just happened to be astrophysics.
I've worked as an interface designer for meditation and wellness apps.
People who are good with hacking electronics.
I'm an electrical engineer going to college.
We do some really wild prototype cardiovascular stuff.
People who are interested in inserting subdermal microchips.
I had a peg leg. The one I had like a terabyte of data. You could stream movies off of it.
And LEDs. And people who just really love movies like Johnny Mnemonic or Upgrade.
This is Biohack at Disneyland.
Grindfest is a place where I personally feel more comfortable being more experimental about who I am.
I used to call myself a practical transhumanist.
What is a transhumanist?
Someone who has decided that they want to transcend what humanity is capable of at this time. So whether that be with installing electronics under your skin so that you can unlock your front door, or taking nootropics to live longer and stronger, they all sort of fall underneath the umbrella of transhumanism.
This is an NFC chip. This goes to my website. This is a LED light. There's like a TED Talk, how we're all cyborgs.
You are all actually cyborgs. Suddenly we're a new form of Homo sapiens.
It really resonated with me. My house, my car, my clothes are my exoskeleton. Without them, I'm not exactly me. So adding more technology didn't really seem that weird.
That's literally a chunk of silicone with a battery and a circuit board.
If you are someone who hacks your skin with an electronic, we call them a grinder. Let's see what we got in the Dangerous Things kit of how to become a cyborg. All right, let's see what it says, shall we?
Hey, ABC News. Let me show you what a body can do.
Why did you get that first implant?
Because my daughter wanted one. I said, listen, I'm not sure how safe this is for people, so how about I go and I get one, and if it's safe, like after a year and I don't have any health problems, I won't have a problem with you getting one. I'll even buy it for you.
If it's safe, if the mark of the beast is safe, oh my goodness. The Bible says that the people who take the mark of the beast during the Great Tribulation will break out in sores. I want to make that very clear. This isn't a healthy thing. We're talking radio frequency, and we're talking different forms of radiation in your body.
Like, and she to this day doesn't have one, and I have 52. Yeah.
52, that sounds like an addiction.
A little bit.
Your hot take on the implants.
My hot take is proceed with caution.
What gives you pause?
Risk of infection, leaving it in the body, risk of inflammation, scar formation, long-term effects. And what happens when there are complications that we simply can't treat because we have devices in our body and we can't properly diagnose because the imaging is not compatible?
Yeah, I have to sacrifice some modern medical technologies because of my implants. So I can no longer get an MRI.
They've got magnets everywhere. You can even hear my hand because my hand has like 8 magnets in it. So my whole hand is now a speaker.
Blues.
When I had 48 implants, someone mentioned that I had the most implants of anyone they knew. And then I went and got 4 more just to get to number 52 because there's 52 cards in the deck and I'm a magician and it was a special number for me. Then Guinness World Records contacted me. I'd done a lot of the TV shows. Penn and Teller's Fool Us.
Some of this is absolutely real. Some of it's not real. And if we told in detail which was which, people would be freaked out.
Yes. The Go Big Show.
Yeah. While I'm eating these blowtorches.
While you're doing what? God, no.
I want to freak people out, but to do it smiling in an evening gown.
How's it going, everybody? If you don't know me, I'm Cassix. I've been doing all kinds of biohacking for a very long time. I was a nurse. I was an ER nurse for about 10 years, and I've since retired from that and moved on to this. If I make this device and it has all of these things in it and it's this awesome, but it's not medically oriented, is that going to stand up in court? My role in the community has been kind of risk amelioration to a large degree. I really want people to be excited and brainstorm these great things, but we have to do the kind of safety limits too.
Very few products in this category are FDA approved. There's limited data and research to understand the risk and the complications, and that just opens you up to liability.
When we talk about body modification, Some may point to plastic surgery, except that's acceptable.
Plastic surgery has undergone a journey of normalization, really starting with advances in the mid 20th century. Now, when it comes to implants, they have not undergone that process.
In the States, physicians, they really can't get involved in what we're doing. It's a risk to their license. So we went out to this place. It's an island off of Honduras. It's called Roatan. That's a special economic zone.
Welcome to Prospera.
They're creating environments where we have regulation friendly to what we want to do.
We are building the most innovative startup city in the world.
They want us there. They're like, this is awesome. Let's make some cyborgs. I kid you not. Now that we're in a place with a lot more regulatory freedom, there are physicians who are very interested, and if you have a trained surgeon, they can do, even more invasive, even more kind of cool stuff.
What I would keep in mind is that there's no guarantee that the standard of care outside the United States is the same inside the United States, or if it's as safe, and that can expose you to risk. So it's so important to do your research and do your homework before you get involved.
At some point, 100 years in the future, everything will be an implant.
When you guys come together every year, what is the big wish list item that you all hope to one day make?
The thing everyone wants is Neuralink. It's frustrating because it's out there, but we don't know how it's built. So if Elon was willing to open source all of his stuff like we do, that'd be great. It works on the premise that your brain's electrical signals can interface with a computer's electrical signals. That is the dream. That is the Johnny Mnemonic, everyone's favorite movie in biohacking.
Upload begins when you press here.
Or uploading information like in the Matrix.
I know Kung Fu.
There's definitely potential, but I do believe that we are very early in that science. We are still learning about how the brain works in general. So the idea that a brain-computer interface, something that you would implant into the brain, can reveal these benefits, I think it would be really difficult because there's so much that we don't know.
When it comes to Neuralink, though, at the grassroots level, the level where the grinders are, there's a lot of concern about putting something inside the brain that will be collecting information directly from your body in such an intimate way. That technology being owned and operated by some kind of external entity is a source of profound concern.
I feel like the first people that can afford implants are going to be the millionaires. And a lot of the reason why the grinders do what they do is so that the technology can be for everyone.
Grinding and biohacking is so invested in the DIY model because it puts the technology and the information in the hands of the makers to share their vision of the future.
I genuinely believe that a lot of what's going on here helps trans people, disabled people, elderly people in the rest of the world, because we're thinking about, okay, what is it like when your body isn't working the way it's supposed to?
I'm trying to do blood glucose using vibrations with a small passive implant. This is the bleeding edge. People taking their own autonomy into their hands and moving biomedical science and engineering forward.
This is the place where you can show up and have some wacky idea and someone will go, no, actually, we can make that real and we're going to do it now.
What do you say to those people who might think this is insane?
To someone who thinks it's insane, I would probably say, just come hang out with us for a bit. I bet you any money by the end of the weekend, you're going to leave with a microchip.
Yeah. How about no? The Bible tells us very clearly that the Antichrist will cause all free and bond. That means everybody who has freedom and those who are in prison or locked up. Rich and poor, doesn't matter if you're elite or grassroots, okay, to take a mark in their right hand or their forehead. And the Bible is very specific that this would be happening in the end times. This is something that has been going on since probably around the early 2000s. All right. They have microchipping parties. They obviously have Grinder Fest. Okay. But these people are so deceived because they're playing right into what the devil wants, and they're doing the research for him to make it a thing to try to convince mankind. You can't convince me you ain't going to get some form of cancer from having this crap in your body. And, it's one thing, to have a medical device that helps keep you alive. But it's another thing, like a pacemaker or something like that. But it's another thing to take on this, to not have anything wrong with you, to not need a medical device, all this stuff. All right. This sets things up for the mark of the beast to happen. Now, I want to introduce you to one of the companies that these people get their stuff from. It's called Dangerous Things. Right off the bat, right here, Dangerous Things. Let me blow this up here a little bit more for you. All right. And you can inject this magnet. It tells you all about biohacking, all this stuff. And it starts to give you prices. The Magic Chip implant, X Magic Chip implant, $150. So for $150, you can go ahead and get your mark of the beast right now. But I'm sure eventually, if you wait for government funding, they'll probably eventually give it to you for free if you really want it that bad. But even up to $300, that's insane. This is insane to me that they have a company that is out there doing this. Well, it isn't the only one. KSEC Cyberlink is another company, and notice how they have that, just like the painting of God touching man's finger, now it's man touching AI's finger. Isn't that funny? And this just goes to show the mindset that's behind transhumanism. And the woman even told you, it's the transhumanism is for the human to transcend, to ascend to a higher state of consciousness is what they believe they're doing. That is not what's happening, I guarantee. And they got all these kits to biohack your body and destroy what God has created. And they even give you discounts, I guess. Look at that. Now, with that being said, we also have I Am Robot. Instead of I Robot, it's I Am. And here's the emphasis. I am. God said, I am who that I am. I know of no other. When Moses asked him, who does he, say that sending him? He says, tell him I am that I am. So God is known as the I am. And so here's another reference to playing God. It's this company called I Am Robot. And it just goes on to have pricing and the different, see, here's frequency and all this stuff. They have it all set up, chip implants. There you go, And this I think is a German or European company, or I can't remember which it is, but it's not English. But anyways, it connects to your Android or iOS compatible phone, all of that stuff, right? So never really truly having any superpowers. You have to have all their other electronics to make this stuff function and work, right? And then you have biotech human re-engineering. Biotech is the UK's leading human technology implant specialists. Right here. So it just goes to show that this stuff has been going on and continues to go on. This is all more recent, stuff. No, Grinder as in people who are biohacking. The people who are like the more grassroots people who are into biohacking and changing everything from the inside out. They call themselves grinders. So, so there's several companies that offer this technology for sale. So this is in existence. It is accessible. People are buying this. And, you know, I tried to do some research, and they said there's well over 250,000 people that are biohacking. I think it's way more, in my opinion. But people that are biohacking now, and this is just all Mark of the Beast stuff. It all plays into the Mark of the Beast. And it also plays into the hand of the U.S. government. Now, here's a DARPA website talking about warfighter analytics using smartphones for health. And if these chips link up to smartphones, then the internal chips that are reading your internals can send that information to the smartphone, not just eye movement, right here, eye movement, voice device orientation and GPS location, not just your finger images and the gestures and finger pressure, different grasping patterns and hand movements, the speed and body motion of how you're walking, your heart rhythm. And remember, they found that pilot that was downed in Iran by his heartbeat in the desert, right? So there ain't no running from what's coming. I'm telling you, there ain't no running from it. Going around playing Bear Grylls out in the woods ain't going to work out so well for people. And then also application use patterns and facial recognition and biometric data. But then also they're going to have your blood pressure. They're going to have your heart rate. They're going to have, you know, all your internal temperature, all this stuff. Once you get this stuff put into you as the Mark of the Beast, they're going to control everything. And that means that DARPA is going to have analytics using smartphones for health. The smartphones have sensors, camera, pedometer, that's for walking, that measures how many steps you take, light sensors, thermometer, fingerprint sensor, proximity sensor, magnetometer, accelerometer, which tells how fast you're going, gyroscope, and a microphone, all in your smartphone. Look at this. Look at this list of information here. Does that not scare you away from having a smartphone? If I was smart, I'd get rid of my phone. If I was smart, I'd get rid of all the technology and go back to the way things used to be. You can get away from it, but will people? We're so dependent on that system now. You can't even get a job without a smartphone anymore, it seems like. Or you can't even pay bills without a smartphone, it seems like, anymore. And that's the way they want it. So that way the Antichrist can cause all free and bound, rich and poor, to take a mark of their right hand of their forehead. And DARPA is behind this thing. Hold on a second. And even talking about nanotech, it says the In Vivo Nano Platforms program supports military readiness through the development of in vivo sensing technologies and therapeutics that facilitate optimal health and performance in individual warfighters. The program pursues technologies that provide earlier indication of physiological abnormalities or illness that can be proactively addressed with therapeutics or supportive care. The IVM program specifically seeks to develop new classes of adaptable nanoparticles for persistent, distributed, unobtrusive physiological and environmental sensing. So this, I'm a firm believer. All right, this is my opinion here. This is speculation on my end. I'm a firm believer that they put nanotech in the food, the water, the vegetables. It's in the chemtrails. It's in the smoke that's all over the place right now. They're able to dump this stuff, and it's so small they can get it into your body. However, and so, there's a reason God told us to pray over our food and that we need to be praying over it. All right, and so people, please take into account praying over your food. Super important. But they want to get this stuff into your body and be able to monitor people from the inside out. And DARPA, this is the military industrial complex mad science division, if you want to call it that. And the goal, all right, is what the RAND Corporation, and RAND Corporation is just as much military industrial complex, is the Internet of Bodies. The internet connected smart devices are increasingly available in the marketplace, promising consumers and businesses improved convenience and efficiency. Within this broader Internet of Things lies a growing industry of devices that monitor the human body and transmit the data collected via the internet. This development, which some have called the Internet of Bodies, no. This is about getting technology into you and you become the receiver. Don't let them confuse it. The Internet of Things is not the Internet of Bodies, and the Internet of Bodies is not the Internet of Things, even though they are for the same purpose. It says this includes an expanding array of devices that combine software, hardware, and communication capabilities to track personal health data, just like the microchips they're putting into people that they've told you that they're doing, provide vital medical treatment, or enhance bodily comfort, function, health, or well-being. So bodily comfort, so they can put microchips in you to make you feel comfortable. This should put you in a state of, why do people, even in Christianity, seek out comfort? Why do you seek out comfort? What is the reason that you seek out comfort? Because it's a fleshly feeling. Comfort is a flesh feeling. It is of the flesh. It is not of the spirit, in my opinion. All right? I think that the spirit can comfort us and comfort us in our flesh and help us to feel better. All right? If we're feeling down, scared, but I don't believe the spirit per se needs what the flesh needs. And you know what I mean? The flesh, it desires good feelings. And so this right there, that they want to enhance bodily comfort with the Internet of Things and the Internet of Bodies scares me away from any feel-good message I could ever listen to. And it lets me know how toxic it is. But it also goes on to say function, health, or well-being. However, these devices are also complicated field already fraught with legal, regulatory, and ethical risks. Of course, ethical risks. The authors of this report examined this emerging collection of human body-centric and internet-connected technologies. They explored benefits, security, and privacy risks and ethical implications, survey the nascent regulatory landscape for these devices and the data they collect, and make recommendations to balance Internet of Body risks and rewards. We'll just read the key takeaways here that they're saying. And remember, they're trying to sell it to you. The primary entities responsible for governance of Internet of Bodies devices are the FDA and the U.S. Department of Commerce. There you go, right there. Right there. The people controlling the Internet of Bodies is the Food and Drug Administration and the U.S. Department of Commerce. The government, the U.S. government, right here, in Rand Corporation's own words, is responsible for the Internet of Bodies. It says, although the FDA is making strides in cybersecurity of medical devices, many Internet of Body devices, and they might as well call it Internet of Things. They don't want you to think it's going in you yet, because that's even more unethical, right? They don't want you to know that. So they're saying Internet of Bodies is wearable devices. That's bullshit. Excuse my language, Lord. I'm sorry, Jesus. But the Internet of Things is the devices. The Internet of Bodies is the nanotech inside of you, making you the receiver, the Wi-Fi. You see what I'm saying? You become a device. It says right here, many Internet of Body devices, especially those available for consumer use, do not fall under FDA jurisdiction. There you go. Federal and state officials have begun to address cybersecurity risks associated with the Internet of Bodies that are beyond FDA oversight. But there are a few laws that mandate cybersecurity best practices. So basically, it's a wild, wild west. There's not a lot of oversight when it comes to the devices. And so the technocracy, the technology, the technocrats, all right, that run, say, Facebook or Meta, Instagram, X, all of them, these companies can control the Internet of Bodies as well through devices. It's a two-pronged thing. So that way there's plausible deniability through the FDA and the Department of Commerce on their end. But then on the end of the technocracy, there's plausible deniability for them. This is scary stuff. This is insane that we're this far. As with IOB, Internet of Body devices, there is no single entity that provides oversight to the Internet of Body data right here. Right there. As with the IOB devices, there is no single entity that provides oversight to the Internet of Bodies. Boom, right there. It is a free-for-all, wild, wild west situation that is already taking place now. Right? Protection of medical information is regulated at the federal level, but not by the Internet devices. The Federal Trade Commission helps ensure data security and consumer privacy through legal act. I don't believe any of this. Just a bunch of hot garbage is what it is. The U.S. Commerce Department can put foreign Internet of Bodies companies on its entity list, preventing them from doing business with Americans, but it doesn't say that they are. It says can. It says can put. Can put. And it's only if those foreign companies are implicated in human rights violations. So basically anybody, any other country, the Internet of Bodies is a globalist thing. No country specifically owns it, but the U.S. government runs it at the very top. That's what they're telling you. But here we go. Listen to this. As 5G and what they're calling Wi-Fi 6, because it's already in play. I told you, this is from the RAND Corporation. Look at this right here. The RAND Corporation. This is the military industrial complex. This was back in 2020. Back in 2020, they're talking about Wi-Fi 6. And satellite internet standards, they're all different. 5G, Wi-Fi 6, and satellite internet standards are from this statement. That obviously are all different, are not the same internet. Are rolled out by the federal government, should be prepared for issues by funding studies and working with experts to develop security regulations. But that's kind of what I take away from it, is that 5G is its own thing. Then you have Wi-Fi 6, its own thing. And then you have satellite internet standards, the SIS. And that's what the government runs on. You ain't even a part of that. You ain't even a part of it. You won't ever have access to that. You're given a basic form of what this huge treasure trove of information that the governments have. But I tell you right now, they're already on 7G, or we could call it Wi-Fi 7. It ain't even Wi-Fi 6 anymore. They're into 7G, already working on 8G, but they're using 7G now. And even Donald Trump talked about 7G, and he talked about being able to see into people's bodies in real time, knowing what's going on inside of them. Why is that? Because 7G connects to the Internet of Bodies. And I think, the best thing to say here is enough said. Enough said. I think I've proven my point, and I don't think I need to prove anything more. So I really hope people are paying attention, because this stuff is all around. Nobody's really talking about this stuff. Any of the more modernized versions of this stuff happening. All right. Everybody's talking about, old school stuff, the RFID chip and things like that, Digital Angel, very old companies that are relatively not too involved anymore, but sold their companies to these other companies that are now, shipping stuff out to people's doorstep to already inject the mark of the beast for $150 into your arm. That's insane to me. So time is short, people. All right. Time is short. Things are getting wild. Stick close to Jesus, because I'm telling you, he is the only true red pill that's out there. He is the only true way to break free from this system that they're creating. May God bless you all. May he keep you. And please don't forget to go out and change this world in which you live.